What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Coach T with Chicago Bears 360, back with another live episode for you. We got a great show here tonight. We got my guy, Gregg Braggs Jr., a.k.a. Braggsy, on the show tonight from CHGO and other media platforms. He's on Bears Twitter. I'm going to let him plug all his stuff in there. Y'all know how it goes. We're going to talk Bears football tonight for you. I'm going to let him plug all his socials when he comes in. Y'all know how we do it. Y'all know what's next. Cue the intro. Maestro,
welcome to
let's
Chicago
go.
Bears 360. Keeping it a buck with Coach T.
Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence. On the road to them Benjis, I fill my teeth with diamonds. I'm high as fuck in the sky, you would've thought I'm pilot. I'm from Chicago, it get ugly, fill the streets with violence. Life like chess, move to pieces, you know I roll in silence.
Past, present, future. We bear down.
And just
that busted his phone out at training camp 5 years ago, and now for some reason I'm on a doing post game stuff with Adam Hogue and guys that actually know what they're talking about. So it's humbling, but it's a lot of fun. So that's just kind of what it is this year.
I appreciate you, man. You living a dream, bro. It's whenever you can find a way to do what you love doing for a living, man, and you know what I'm saying, find yourself in a space that you love doing, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man. That's I think that's every person's dream, isn't it? So yeah, man. So we're gonna get right into
100%. I mean, I
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sorry. Like I said, I'm getting a little lag, so if you want, I can hop on my phone. But
no, that's good. It's good.
Better luck.
That's good. We'll make way for it.
Okay. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, though. It's about doing what you love if you can. Not everybody has the luxury to pick and choose. Sometimes you got to make that money however you can get it. But that's kind of the beautiful thing about social media and Twitter and YouTube, like what we're doing here tonight. Anybody can create their own platform, and if you know what you're talking about, or you're entertaining, or people want to hear what you have to say, you just kind of build it up brick by brick from there. So I'm grateful that social media kind of became what it is, because then I was able to parlay it into something bigger than what I ever anticipated, and did things that I always dreamed of when I was screwing around in school, not paying attention.
I think we did everybody did a little bit of that, man. So let's jump straight into it, man. Let's talk about Justin Fields, and you know what I'm saying, been all of the talk this week with coming out of the Atlanta game and of course the injury. Now I was there. I live here in the city, so I was there. Row 114, section 114, row 2, right in front of the Darnell Mooney score, man. I took my wife to the game. So that was a great experience. But yeah, man. Yeah, it was a good experience. I try to get to 2 or 3 games a year, at least one here, one home game per year. But let's talk about it, man, because it surprised me a little bit. The game plan surprised me a lot. And then after watching a little bit of tape this week, I came up, with a theory as to why Luke Getsy went that way. Now, I don't know if you know my background. Much maligned high school offensive coordinator, worked my way through the ranks, of course. Much maligned through youth football and high school ranks. So I coached in Florida, in Georgia. My first year coaching high school ball, actually, I had Byron Pringle was part of the first group I had. So a unique experience being a Bears social media guy and having one of my guys actually play for the team. So, I thought I had a feel for why he did that, but I think cause and effect, right? So if he's not running that much, you know what I'm saying, I don't know if we're in this position. What do you feel about that?
I just think that I didn't love when you talk about Justin Fields going into the week talking about he had tired legs, and then to run him a season high 18 times, especially in that second half on that final drive, maybe in the first half where you didn't see as many signs of it, but when he's getting stretched out on the second half, he's having cramps. They obviously know about that. That, like I said, that it was coaching negligence, and then when it came out that on the second play after the injury, the shoulder injury on the final drive, that it was a miscommunication that Justin was actually supposed to hand it off to David. I almost kind of excused the coaching staff a little bit for my negligence comment, but at the same time, it still stands because how can you run him on the first play then? He's cramping. And as Adam Hogue pointed out, the drive prior to it where they score the touchdown, his passing was on full display. His pocket presence was on full display. His decision-making, getting the ball out on third down with his arm and not having to rely on his legs was on full display. Why not give him the opportunity to win the game that way instead of doing, quarterback design run on the first play? I understand the second play was supposed to be a running back draw, which I also don't like that play call either.
Right.
But still, give the man a chance to, pass the ball to win the game. We've seen it too many times this year. The Giants game was the biggest one where I had the issue with early in the season, where on fourth down, they choose 4th and 2 on their side of the field. They choose to punt it instead of letting Justin do his thing. And then the other issue I have, and then I'll let you get your thoughts on this, the Darnell Mooney against Washington on the final play of the game where they do a half-field read. Yes, Mooney should have came down with it. And then against the Lions, they did a half-field read at the end of the game on 3rd and 6, I think it was, at the very end of the game. I don't like these half-field reads on crucial plays where you need to give Justin the whole field to find somebody to deliver the ball to. And then you also have the opportunity to run. If you do a half-field read, it limits Justin's options so much.
Right.
I'm not saying take it out of the playbook completely, but on those crucial downs, those crucial moments to win the game, you're going to Darnell Mooney against Washington. Well, it's the only place he can go to. Yes, Darnell should have caught it, but if he had the whole field to work with, then maybe there's a better option, a better, matchup he can attack there. I think you're kind of tying his hand behind his back with play calls like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think all of my followers will know this, right? That subscribers to Chicago Bears 360 would know this, right? I get kind of detailed into the game plan and what I would do as an offensive coordinator in these situations, right? So I understand the patience and ramping up and establishing the foundation with the running game, but also the patience and ramping up with the passing game. So, you know what I'm saying? I've been riding with Luke all year, and I'm still rocking with him, right, from a OC's perspective, because I understand how hard the job is, right? Obviously, there's a big difference between calling plays in front of 75,000 and calling in front of 5,000, but it's still a point of reference, right? But my expectation was not to see as many design runs, like you said, with Justin Fields, particularly the sprint outs, right? The quarterback, quick sprint outs and sweeps, whether it was to the strength side or to the weak side, it seemed like, and it was visible there at the game, that Atlanta had a beat on that, right? The safeties were coming hard and crashing hard, and they were coming with the intent to hurt, right? They were coming hard and crashing hard on it. And I think the particular weakness of that Atlanta defense was running into the perimeter. And we had established early on that there were some plays up the middle, some gap schemes where they did the toss play up the middle with Demo. And I think Ebner probably got a few yards on ones that the soft plays was right up the middle. So I would expect Luke to take more advantage of running the ball up the middle. But as I looked at the plays and kind of, I went through the game, kind of let it play out and flow. And that's kind of how I get a feel for play calling and what's happening on the field, not just what he's calling, but I kind of try and feel my way through the calls when I'm watching. And I'm like, like what is, and try to feel like if I'm looking at my call sheet, what is he thinking in this situation? And the only logical explanation I came away from it with is with the O-line shuffling, and particularly with Khalil being hurt, he did this thing we call overcoaching, right? You can absolutely overcoach a game as a coach, a football coach, offensive coordinator. I actually had this happen to me when I was a young assistant, where we were headed to the state championship, and we actually didn't make the game because we actually outcoached ourselves, meaning you think so much about what's going to happen that you move away from your bread and your butter, and you say, well, I don't have Khalil, and we have all these O-line changes. I have to manufacture some rushing yards, so I'm going to give Justin a few more carries than I normally would have because Khalil's out, I got Demo, but I don't know what this other guy's going to give me. And I think that was a critical mistake if he went down that path, because you run your stuff, right? You run your stuff, and you establish the standard as a coach, and you make the players play up to the standard. You don't adjust the standard down to player personnel or what we don't have. No, the system is supposed to be the star. You coach up to that standard, and you make that backup running back, you make that backup O-lineman play to the standard, and you call your game best off of that. And I think the results is what we got. You put the guy in harm, because I literally said the day before, on my show the day before, my expectation was for the passing the game to take a leap, for us to have a Chase Claypool package in. And if teams played us the way that they had, like Miami played us, the teams previous to that game played us, and they were going to roll a single high safety over top of Chase Claypool, I expected Darnell Mooney to have a day. Like, I expected the touchdown that we saw, I expected there to be a lot more Darnell Mooney, not necessarily touchdown, but, catches and open runs in the field, and him to go off. Or if they weren't going to respect Chase, that Chase was going to cause a problem and create some conflict there. So I was totally shocked at the game plan. And
and then I would say to that point, how many times? Because they almost had the home run ball to Darnell Mooney over the top, and then they didn't go back to it the rest of the game. But I have trouble blaming them for that, because to me, what I saw just watching the game and just being the average fan and making my observations, they're playing 10 yards back and dropping into zone. So right. You can't just force it over there. Like, Carm was like, throw the ball. I'm like, you're going to throw a pick if you try to throw it downfield. Now, there's no excuse for not seeing as many slants as I felt like we could have seen. Get Chase Claypool over the middle. You also need the offensive line to hold up, but those are quick throwing plays. And then the Colt Kmet seam route where he made this spectacular catch with one hand. I can't excuse the coaching staff for not going back to those types of plays, because in a zone, you can find those kind of holes. No, you may not be able to throw it over the top every time, but they should have been able to find Cole Kmet over the middle a few more times, up the seam a few more times. So, and they aren't a very good pass defense. Atlanta is. They could have passed all over them, but I agree not having Khalil Herbert hurt, because the other thing, they were only rushing 4 and dropping everybody else back. So they were basically saying, hey, we're going to let Demo do what he does, 3 yards a carry. He's a tough runner. But they didn't have Herbert there to get that breakout, explosive run that forces teams to bring another guy or two into the box, which then opens up the play action, wide open Cole Kmet design play.
No, you're exactly right, and I'm tracking with you on that. I was, and particularly the expectation was, in exactly that, the intermediate game, right? So we're starting to ramp Cole up a little bit over the last few weeks and get him going. But my criticism of this offense in totality, and thinking about it from an evolution standpoint, not just bashing Luke Getsy, understanding where we are in this season, understanding how this wide receiver room is changing, how the O line keeps changing and it has a lot of inconsistency. I don't think we had the same O line for 3 consecutive games all season. I could be wrong on that, but we had some shuffling and some mixing in the offensive line at least every 2 weeks since season started. But I expect what you called out, right? The quick pass game, the intermediate pass game. So the slants, the digs, the hitches, the rub route. There was a rub route on the touchdown, so they did run it there. But there seems to be this kind of bipolar type of flavor to the offense where either we're running the ball, we're throwing screens, or we're going deep. So to your point, you threw the deep ball, you missed on it. You showed Atlanta that we can blow past you. They backed the safeties off and start playing too high safeties. So now you start throwing the ball underneath and taking those 5-yarders. And what kind of perplexes me is, again, this is an overcoaching point because they're so worried about Chase Claypool blowing by somebody that they respect the hell out of him. And we threw one quick hitch to Chase, and it was like stealing, right? And I think that play is there all day long. Like if he runs a 5-yard stop and catch the ball, like, because that's how you set up the double move or something. And it's just like, okay, we refuse to stick with it. We won't. Hey, okay, we look up and like you said, corners might be playing 7 yards off, cover 3. They're bailing to their outer thirds. Run the quick out, the quick stop route, catch the ball, and make them come up and press you. And then, so I don't think we're creating a lot of conflict out there. It's just the simplicity of the game. And I know, I'm sideline and social media OCing, but it just drives me. And I don't think because of that reason we have to put Justin in as much harm. And my whole thing is going forward, whether he plays or not, hopefully he plays, but going forward for Luke's development, he still has to develop as an OC, by the way. But for his development, why not? You know what I'm saying? We have nothing to lose. Go for it. Throw it out there. You don't call a fancy play. Just come up and say, hey, quick hits to Clay. You know what I'm saying? See if it sticks. I don't, that's just my position on it. I don't know.
Like QB school, the guy, Sullivan on the QB school, he highlighted the SROs that they were throwing to Darnell Mooney on the outside screens. And I feel like Justin has done such a better job of ball placement on those quick throws, to the sidelines. But, how about an SRO where it's a slant coming over the middle and not just everything going towards the sideline? And I agree. I see Nomad in the chat saying, they're still implementing this system. Completely agree with you on that. And they were limited when you talk about no Tevin Jenkins, Justin Fields has cramps. There's still a lot of moving parts. Chase Claypool still needing help lining up at the end of the game. So there's so many moving parts, Sid, and so much more talent that needs to be, put into this team before we're gonna I'm not gonna talking about Getsy, and you gave me the drunk uncle award last week for Getsy's head coaching chances.
We're gonna talk about that, by the way,
real quick. And yeah, of course, I can't wait. I need my award, but that just goes to show the point you were making about the fact that he's still got a long way to go as a coach. Why teams in the league offered were not offered, but interviewed him as a head coach last year. I don't know, but Atlanta was proof that he still has a long way to go, specifically on that final drive of the game. Like, you got to be better than that play calling, to give your quarterback a best chance. Because who are they going to railroad when the game is over? They're going to go after Justin.
Right.
Luke doesn't have to take the blame or accountability because it all falls on Justin. Then you hear about this story that Justin is apologizing to the freaking defense in the freaking locker room. Like, I love his leadership, but oh my God, the weight that this guy carries on his shoulder to win games for this team is absolutely ridiculous. So I commend him for, being the leader that he is, but I'm glad somebody on the defense stood up and said, no, you don't have to apologize for nothing because he absolutely does not.
Yeah, shut that crap down, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You like you said, you appreciate the humility in that spot. And I think that was part of the program in the offseason and why we got rid of some of the older seasoned players, because we did need a culture change and we did need to go and make a situation where we made Justin the undisputed leader and voice in that locker room. But this one he can't have on him. Now, about the take, we go get to that because I saved it, but I wasn't going to use it on the show. But as I got prepped for the show, I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna keep this around and use it for some humor. And by the way, man, I appreciate your sense of humor about the whole situation, because that's the way it came off. I can't even get it up on screen good and try to be all fancy with my take. So for the people in the chat, this is what Gregg is talking about. He's talking about the hiring of a defensive head coach. That probably, if we indeed have to move on, wasn't such a bright idea, to go with a defensive head coach. And I think I made the comment, you were in the comments too, that one of my biggest challenges with how the NFL looks at this overall has to do with understanding the halo effect, right? The idea that because you're technically proficient at something, you're going to be a great leader of men. And it scares the hell out of me no matter who the guy is, because I really feel like that's the premises they went with Nagy. Like, we need the next Sean McVay. We need an offensive guru that could run a team, look cool, which Nagy doesn't with a bald head and visor. Anyway, but we need somebody that can be cool and consider an offensive genius. And my whole time with Nagy and under his tenure, I wondered how he managed the locker room, the logistics, the administration of being a head coach and calling plays, and all the intricate details that I know that goes into offensive play callers. Like, a lot of times I would criticize his play calling because he would just line up and make a play call. He would line up and call a play. There was no motions. There were no shifts. There was nothing to help the quarterback in terms of pre-snap read. The attention to detail was missing there with him. And then my concern with Luke is, one, you haven't put it on tape yet. But so I don't know, how does that work? You get a coaching opportunity without proving yourself? Like, that part baffles me. But the other part of that comment was, Ryan and Matt and Coach Flus said, hey, you know what I'm saying? When we discussed in the interview process the possibility of this happening, one of the things I love is because Matt had a plan in place. So in case he does leave, we can move on to the next guy seamlessly. Now you go and lay an egg in Atlanta, so to speak, and really should we be having this conversation now? I didn't want to be right at the cost of losing the game.
And you're welcome. And I also deserve credit because I jinxed it, and I cyberbullied Getsy for the rest of the week. Saying
I saw that, by the way.
Calls at the Willis Tower, and we had a whole thing going to the point where he was literally trending on Twitter. So I want to take some credit for this because now we don't have to worry about it at all. I took care of business. I took one for the team.
You did.
At the same time, no, I'll wear it. Because going into the head coaching search, I wanted an offensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, no, look what happened with Nagy. And I said, I'm not going to judge the next head coach on Nagy's failures. Right. I understand the sentiment you're saying, and I'm not against a defensive-minded head coach. Lovie Smith is the best head coach of our Chicago Bears in my lifetime. So, right. And he was a defensive-minded head coach. Now, they had trouble finding an offensive coordinator. They had Ron Turner, and then after he left, it was kind of a carousel of offensive coordinators. And then when Jay Cutler got here, it was like they had a different offensive coordinator every year, and it was like a whole new offensive system. But I agree with you that, it's nice that this time around, Eberflus is trying to keep the system in place regardless of the offensive coordinator, not just completely keeping his hands out of it. So I get that end of it. But I was a big Gregg Roman guy. I wanted Gregg Roman here to help groom Justin Fields into what he can become because I see him adjust. That's the biggest key that I wanted for our next head coach was somebody that could adjust because Matt Nagy could only run the Kansas City offense. That's the only thing he ever knew. So when it came time to have to adjust off of that, he didn't have the answer to it. And that most of the time, you got to go to multiple coaching staffs and learn how to skin the cat different ways. And he didn't know how to do that. Well, to me, I seen Gregg Roman take Joe Flacco in an offense and make it what it needed to be, and then Lamar Jackson and adjusted and made the offense to his strength. So I was like a big Gregg Roman guy, and I'm fine with Matt Eberflus. I'm not, when I have this take, I didn't want it to make it seem, that's why I prefaced in the tweet, I'm not trying to hate on Matt Eberflus, but it was a concern to me. Like, I don't want to lose our offensive coordinator 1 year in.
Right.
If he leaves after next year, I'm fine with that. But I need this continuity. This developmental period is so crucial for Justin Fields that I don't want anything to be messed with. I get Andrew Giannakko can step right in and the system will still be in place, but then he's still going to need time to learn how to call the game he wants to. Like you said, flow. It's not just about scheme. It's about the flow of the game.
You got to get that rhythm.
Right, and he'll have to learn that on his own as well. So there's a grace period with that. I don't want any grace period. I want this team full steam ahead week 1 because I have no expectations for this year. But I don't even need to see what they do in the offseason to tell you that I'm going to have big expectations for next season. I want them competing for the division. They're in every game. So I agree with people in the chat. Eberflus is doing a great job having these guys competing their asses off every game at 3-8. Matt Nagy's teams let go of the rope when it got to this point.
Yeah.
So I know that is credit to Matt Eberflus first and foremost.
Yeah.
He's still got learning to do. I liked how he handled the timeouts at the end of the last game. So there's things he's even learning as the job is rolling around. But I definitely give him credit for, building this culture. And the number one thing is how he holds these players accountable.
Yeah.
We saw it with Jalen Johnson in the offseason. We've seen this whole saga with Tevin Jenkins. I understand he's a talented player, but he's holding his feet to the fire and challenging him to be great. Same with Velus Jones. They put him on the practice squad. He said publicly, look, he has to learn everything about his position, and then he can be active. So he's not playing favorites, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that is the sign of a good head coach. So I look forward to what he and Getsy can do next year, now that we know Getsy's not getting the job next year.
Yeah, your boy might have a little bit more work to do. Yeah, I you know what I'm saying? That's why I said I can appreciate the evolution part of it and what he has to do with it. Both he and Alan Williams are going through growing pains, right? I see some things that Alan Williams does even in this establishing the foundation of this defense, and they are head scratchers where it boils down to overcoaching, and that's the trip line for a new coach. You put so much work and attention and detail into work and what you're doing. You absolutely can overcoach a game. You can overcall a game. And that's why, kind of my history is why I got into this is to stay connected to the game and the rhythm. So stealing plays. I thought I was going to be able to steal some stuff from Nagy, and that was a wash. Stole absolutely nothing from him. But for you to be able to listen to a game, think about a call sheet and the flow of the game and why 3rd and 2 we went with this particular concept, this particular plays. And I will say more often than not, even in his let's call it rookie tenure here, at least with Chicago, I can look back even in the tape up until this game and I'll say, you know what? I understand why Luke did that. I understand what he was thinking that. It's not totally off the wall, whereas opposed to Nagy, I was like, what the F are we doing? 1st and 10, First down and goal to go. 3 straight empty formations, no fullback, no running back in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell are we doing? You go with a tight end jet sweep or whatever the hell that was he runs. Like, I didn't understand the concept, the philosophy, but I could at least understand the competent side of play calling, even play design. The concepts I understand with Luke. I just think, this week he just laid an egg, man. This was since the Washington game, this was his worst call game since the Washington game. Now, I also said this. I expected NFL defenses to catch up with what Luke was doing since Patriots week at some point in 4 to 6 weeks, and this offense was going to hit a wall, and he would have to evolve it again into what eventually it should be overall. And that means I can attack all quadrants of the field in the run game, meaning I can go outside, inside, for both sides, so I can get the perimeter. I can throw the ball to the outer perimeter in the quick screen game, and I can hit all quadrants of the field. So one of the things I do, Greg, and this is going to be some boring coaching stuff. One of the things I do in game prep for a week, I have a sheet. I draw probably have a 8.5. What do they call it? 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 10 sheet of paper, and I draw a tic-tac-toe board on the sheet, right? And part of my game planning is before on a particular Friday night or whatever, third, deep outer thirds, middle thirds, and then the short quick screen game, I'm gonna have plays on that tic-tac-toe board. And throughout the week, or even if I carry that over into the game, I'm crossing over and making sure that I've attacked every quadrant of the field. Or if I haven't, I've looked at it and I understand why I haven't. So if I think about that tic-tac-toe board in my head, throughout the season, we've continuously attacked the deep and middle thirds of the field. We've hit the outer thirds with the quick screen game and toss. We do great in our gap power schemes, our inside-outside zone schemes. I love Luke's run concepts, right? I'm talking about the fullback in the game. I love when Corey Blasingame is in the game. I always think great things happens when he's in the game. But that middle quadrant of the field, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Every time. They should play more.
Yeah. Like
good things happen.
Yeah, Matter of fact, I was at the Green Bay game, my first trip to Lambeau, by the way, and you could almost feel it. Like, I had 2 Bears fans that I didn't know sitting to my left, and I said, bro, watch this. Every time Kari's in the game, something good happened in that Green Bay game. And those are the power concepts. So anytime you have a fullback in the game, those are power games. Lead up. You can run outside zone with a fullback in the game. But usually when he's in the game, matter of fact, the big Demo run versus Green Bay was a classic 35 power, the same play that Marshawn Lynch ran in the earthquake run. It was the same exact play. That was our identity. That's our identity, who we are as an offense. And then you play off that with boots, play action, so on and so forth. And you don't have to go deep off of that, but you can still hit some of the intermediate throws. So you're right. I like the fact that Cole is getting off and he's making flash plays, but I don't care. I do care. I would be lying. I care who the quarterback is. I want it to be Justin. I want him to play. Now I'm probably the lone person in saying this, and I have my reason for saying it. Justin has to be out there. He has to be out there because I'm sold on him. Braggsy stole on him. There's a lot of people that sold on Justin being the guy, but they're the toxic portion of our Bears fan base that can't wait for this kid to screw up, can't wait for the backup to come in and show him up, and then we have a shit show of a quarterback controversy on our hands. And I said this the last couple of days, but if I'm in his ear, I'm his pops. I'm like, Justin, listen, bro, we can take care of that when we take care of it. But if it ain't falling off, we gotta go. We gotta go. We don't get another year two at this, right? And you know what I'm saying? We need these reps. I'm saying if it's not critical, it's not critical. I go to the short intermediate pass game, 3-step drop game. You getting the ball in their hand, telling them strictly, do not go. Throw the ball away, and we're going to use these next, how many you got, 6 left, 7 left? We're going to use these next 7 or so game to see what we got in this wide receiver room, because in the offseason, and I don't think NFL teams realize how much this affected, but we only get 15 padded practice and 3 preseason games. That is not enough time to prepare. So you're not going to get a chance to throw. I don't know. I feel some kind of way about that.
I get where you're coming from. As I don't give a shit what the idiot Bears fans say. I don't care what John McCoy has to say, begging for clicks and Twitter interaction from his, hot takes on his show. That stuff really doesn't bother me. When Justin was struggling at the beginning of the year, all I ever kept asking was, it doesn't matter what I think or you think or any of us think, what does Ryan Poles think?
Right.
And to me, I feel like that question is answered now with Ryan Poles. He took questions from the media before the Patriots game, which I give Ryan Poles a lot of credit for, because that was before they really started to take off. And he still stood and faced the music and said he had no regrets for how he handled the offseason, this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden now the Bears take off. And at the time he said, we're taking it game by game, evaluating Justin Fields. Well, now we've had 6 more games where he's shown this unbelievable electricity that you just can't teach, and an ability that we've never had at the quarterback position in Chicago. So I don't think Ryan Poles has any questions about who his quarterback is going into next season, or how he can run an offense. I think he understands the bigger picture of needing more consistency and help around him for him to be great. So I'd love to watch him play. You think I want to do post-game shows talking about Trevor Siemian? Hell no. But at the same time, I don't want him to get further injured, because, like Hogue said, when you're hurt, when you're to get seriously hurt. And we saw that with the shoulder injury. He was cramping up. He could barely pull himself off the mat before the shoulder injury, and that is why he got run down on the sideline. Normally, these guys can't catch him. Against the Dolphins, he ran for a NFL record 180 yards, and he didn't get touched the whole game.
Yeah.
Well, now, so they're catching up to him, and now it causes a shoulder injury, which has nothing to do with his legs. So I worry about the next injury because of these injuries. And then the overall thought I have is, if it requires surgery and it's his non-throwing shoulder, so that's great. That's great news that it's his non-throwing shoulder. But if it needs surgery, he has to get it now. It makes no sense to play out the rest of the year, and then his recovery period gets pushed into mini camp and closer to training camp. So if he needs surgery, I say he does it now. If he doesn't need surgery and he's fine and there's a chance he can play on Sunday, I am not going to be surprised to see Justin Fields out there on Sunday, because I guarantee he has the same mentality you have. If I was the coach, I'm telling him, I'm protecting you from yourself, Justin. You're going to sit at least 1 week. Like, if he's fine, that's great. I want him to
We got a little bit of lag up in here. We got a little bit of lag in there. Let me go to single screen real fast, and then hopefully we get our guy back real soon. But I'm agreeing with you, and y'all might convince me. Y'all might convince me of this overall. Let me see what's going on here.
Overall, but if he's healthy or not healthy, but if he's able to play, I want to give him 1 week. Then he comes back for the Packer game. You put a harness on his shoulder and you hold your breath for the rest of the year. But it's scary, because this is the future of our franchise, and these games matter. But week 1 next season matters a hell of a lot more.
Yeah. I think you might have convinced me on the well, I think the surgery part didn't take a whole lot of convincing, right? So the surgery to me is a no-brainer, right?
Then you got to get it. If he doesn't, fine.
Yeah. I went beyond the coaching point. I went into his living room with him and his pops talking about it and saying, "Hey, hey Dad, what do I do?" Looking, man, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but surgery is a different animal because, obviously. Hang on one second, Bragsy. I gotta do some math right here because there's a little bit. Let me know in the chat if y'all seeing the lag. It's showing up on my end, but I want to clear up this lag because I don't want to miss anything you're saying. All important points. Let me see here. Let me go. It still doesn't wanna cooperate with us, so give me a second. And I lost audio too. Hey Brags, do me a favor, see if you can come out and come back in and see if it'll reboot for you. Nomad said Brags don't miss a beat. While we waiting on Bragsy to come back in, let me do my thing and go to the DMs and see what the team is talking about. Let's go in the DMs real fast and bring some of his DMs in. Nomad giving Brags his pop saying Brags don't miss a beat. I like the takes, man. You made me think about the surgery even more in depth because I hadn't really paid a lot of attention to the surgery part of it, the need for surgery, and the reason being is because we had kept getting conflicting reports. Conflicting reports on what was going on with Justin, right? So just getting through the DM section, I got Braxy back with us. Never seen a quarterback win over fan bases quickly. Can't think of another guy. I love it, man. I love it, but I will admit I'm hypersensitive to, what I'm saying, how fickle our fan base can be. Give me a test, a sound test real fast, Braxy, while I'm reading some of these.
Testing.
I love it. Y'all hearing loud and clear.
1 2 1 2.
He gonna rap for us too. I read you lean with Charlie. Back to my old military days. I read you loud and clear, man. Yeah. So that little backup skin we probably not gonna have, but I'll go with the black screen too. But yeah, man, I'm with it. What do you think about pushing us forward into the offseason, like the defensive end of it? Talk to me about how you feel about the defensive end, the job that Alan Williams doing, and also what do you think, man, we need to do? We need to turn the edge with this defense. I have a few things in mind, but I want to hear a different voice.
Well, I think that they're adjusting well. Like when they go into typically they adjust well. But my issue is with their game plan coming into the games.
Yeah.
We've seen more times than not, whether it's against the Vikings or against the Giants, not stopping the QB rollout, and against the Vikings where they're just letting Justin Jefferson go up wherever he wants and not jamming him at the line of scrimmage until the second half of that game. I just some of those things need to be caught on quicker. You shouldn't have to get to the halftime locker room to make that adjustment. Those are simple adjustments.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to completely make a judgment on Alan Williams and Matt Eberflus in this regard because they have no pass rush.
Right.
The guys on their defensive line are depth pieces. They don't have any game changers on that defensive line.
Right.
So it's to me it's an uphill battle. What do? You can't run man. You can't run zone. You're the coach. They started to blitz a little more, but with you're blitzing your linebackers, Sanborn's doing everything he can to get there. But if the defensive line isn't helping during that blitz, get home, You know, to me, your hand is tied behind your back more times than not, and now you have to do like disguised blitzes and different things. And you could see it how Atlanta, every time Sanborn would blitz, they would attack right where Sanborn came from because Mariota had enough time to find it. So they need pieces. So get a pass rusher, get a 3 technique, some from free agency. Maybe we get this Jalen Carter with the 3rd pick in the draft, and everyone that's bitching at me about rooting for draft spot, will wipe their tears away when we go to the NFL draft podium and announce Jalen Carter to the Bears. So I like the secondary a lot. I like every piece in the secondary. I like Jalen Johnson. I like what Kyler Gordon is showing as a young rookie. I like the way Kendall Vildor is starting to develop. He's not this Pro Bowl cornerback, but I like what he's doing as a 3rd year guy. And then on the back end, Eddie Jackson and Jaquan Brisker have been great this season. So if we can get this team a pass rush, I think that there will be better days ahead for this defense. But for this year, they're going to keep giving up 30 burgers easily.
I think for me, it's weird, right? Because you usually watch the game from the inside out, right? I usually see the game from the front of the defensive line back. But it's me and my boy Ville while I was there in Chicago a couple weeks ago. We were somewhere watching the game, and I was pointing out to the screen and how I watched the game. And I said, listen, with Alan Williams, you really have to evaluate the game this way, knowing that we don't have pass rushers up front. You can evaluate the game this way. When team throw the ball on us, is there a guy there immediately to make a play on the ball? Is it guys in the neighborhood, or are they throwing the ball and guys is getting a whole bunch of yak after yards after the catch, right? So when we were watching the Miami game, I think it was, I was pointing out to Ville. I said, listen, notice every time a team throws the ball on us that we have a guy in the area. That lets me know the scheme and or the system is on point. Like we're in the neighborhood. If we could just add a pass rush to that and get some pressure on the quarterback, either from the 3 technique or from the end spot, it'll allow to speed up the clock of the quarterback, but also it'll make the coverage time that much more or less for those guys on the back end, the defensive backs. So I'm not overly critical of Alan Williams either. Like I said, he has his moments. He tries to make up for the lack of talent up front in his defensive line by doing these slants on rundowns that he basically gets caught with his draws down a lot of times. So he'll slant. I have a play or two comes to mind in the Green Bay game where he runs a slant towards where he thinks the ball is going, but Green Bay ran a counter to the opposite side. And when you do that, the defensive linemen aren't there to eat up the blocks of the linebackers. So you got these big offensive linemen pull around the corner, and you got a linebacker and a safety staring them in the face, and they about to get mowed because you sent the defensive lineman the opposite way. And I'm like, bro, just play your base defense. Let those guys play square to the line of scrimmage and don't get too cute. And then the other criticism I had of him probably up until about 2 or 3 weeks ago was what you said. Not really having confidence in his game plan and making adjustments before halftime. So to your point, Minnesota game, they come out and run it down our throats, 3 straight scores. And I'm like, hell, on my call sheet, if I'm the OC in Minnesota, I'm looking down at my call sheet and I said, everything worked. I don't know what else to call next. So, where can we go from here? So we go in, we make halftime adjustments, and, to your point, it wasn't much Allen can do. He had seen everything. So what you do is, if you're great at halftime adjustments, you bump that process up and you go to your assistants and say, hey, we're going to meet between quarters. I know what I see. I see what I see. Let's make the adjustment now, and go with it. They've shown us they're showing us our first 15 script. Let's play ball now. Let's get after people and start making moves and make things happen. So, one of those things that I'm aligned with too, and I really haven't dove into the player personnel part of it yet. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
And this is the thing that I tried to explain to people that had visions of grandeur for this season. I'm like, the depth on this team is razor thin.
Yeah.
You might be able to trick yourself into believing that they can win this game, that game, and this game, and now you're going to look back at the schedule and point to the 6 games they lost by 1 score and said, if this, and this had happened, we'd be like the Giants right now at 7-3. No, we're so razor thin with our depth. We traded away guys in the offseason. Then we get rid of Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn at the trade deadline. You got Jalen Johnson hurt. Kendall Vildor's hurt. That's a lot to ask for the defense to keep their head above water. I get there's some things schematically they can try to do, and Jack Sanborn has certainly been a shot in the arm since he's come in. But, it's just I just have always said from the start of the year, keep your win-loss expectation low and keep the development expectation high.
In mind.
Jaquan Brisker is leading the league for rookies with solo tackles. Kyler Gordon has had his ups and downs, but they're asking him to do quite a bit for a rookie. So I like what I'm seeing with his development. He when he does, stick his head in there, he can be a physical cornerback. And Eddie Jackson, I think, is another huge example of taking to this defensive philosophy, getting coached up by Matt Eberflus. It's not just like Bojack is back. He's literally evolved into an even better player than he ever was in 2018.
I agree.
A leader, and the way, he's had tackles before, but the way he's tackling this year to save
much more physical.
Runs, he's way more physical. And when he gets the opportunity to hunt for a pick, he's doing that. So when he gets a pass rush in this defense, I guarantee you're going to be seeing more interceptions from Eddie Jackson. So I like what I'm seeing. Justin Jones is probably the only bright spot on the defensive line. Travis Gibson's been a little bit of a disappointment this year. He's my guy, so I'm not going to kick him too hard, but he needs to have a better showing. And maybe if you get an interior line to help him out, maybe a guy like that as a depth piece can shine a little more. Dominique Robinson, I think, is a guy that you can continue to develop, but he's still got a long way to go as a 5th or 6th round pick. And then, it's they've got holes to fill. It's as simple as that.
Good. I agree with all of that, if not most of it, all of it. I got one more for you. I'm going to throw out a name for you. Velus.
I like Velus Jones. I overspoke when he finally became active, but when I went to training camp, it was the first 3 days, so they weren't in pads yet. And this is kind of how I am as a fan. When I go out there, that's when I start to visualize who I see that looks like they can play. Who are the guys that have that it factor? You know it when you see it. I've never played the game. I didn't coach like you did, but I've gone to training camp for 20 plus years at Bourbonnais and now at Hallis Hall. So I know what it's supposed to look like. And with Velus Jones, when he came in, he had traits that you just don't see that often with the Chicago Bears. And that's what stood out to me. And then on that first day that I saw him and Kyler Gordon were battling all day long, and they're throwing streaks to Velus, and he's burning guys by 15 yards, and he was actually catching those balls. And it was like, damn, this dude's a player. And now he's had these struggles. I'm not jumping off and throwing them to the river. Other fans are quick and finicky when it comes to that stuff. Was it the best draft pick when you consider his age and some of the things that he still needs to learn to become a consistent player, wide receiver in this league. Maybe you can make that argument for sure, and I'm not going to fight that much. But now that he's here, do I think he can still be a guy that can be a difference maker for this offense next season? I absolutely think that, because he has the traits that you can't teach. Now, can he learn a route tree? Can he learn the Valus package and do it consistently? Can he hold on to the football? Those are the things yet to be determined. But he's built like Cordero Patterson. He finishes runs like Cordero did. He's as fast as Cordero. So it's incumbent on the coaches to get the most out of Valus. And so now he comes back. He's had his humbling moment. He's gone through his ups and downs. He comes back onto the active roster, and he almost houses a kickoff in his first game back. So build off of that. Try to get him into the offense. It is sad that they can't get him out there for a few plays, because early in the season, I mean, he got in the end zone as on an end around, and that stuff helps Justin Fields, because even though he may not know what he's doing out there yet, the defense has to account for a talent like that. And when he's streaking in motion in the backfield pre-snap, the defense's eyes are going to go to Valus Jones.
Yeah, the jet sweep got to be respected.
For Justin Fields and Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery to go the other way, or throw a screen or whatever. There's things you can build off of whatever you're trying to do with Valus. So I still have my chips in on Valus. I'm rooting for him. I think he can be a contributor on this team next year. But it's not going to be just given to him. This coaching staff has proven that you got to earn it. So if he's going to do it, he's got to earn it in the offseason. He's got to earn their trust and their respect heading into camp. And then you won't have to worry about these considerations of him making the roster potentially, depending on how much more they add to this wide receiver room. Because it could potentially be crowded depending on the players they bring in. So he's going to have to earn it, because Claypool's going to be here. Mooney's going to be here. There's a good chance N'Keal Harry could be here, although that's not a guarantee. I think St. Brown is somebody that could be on the back end of this depth chart. And then they're going to either draft or trade somebody for free agency, because I know they're going to swing another big bat to get another wide receiver in here for Justin Fields. I don't think they're done giving Justin Fields weapons.
Breaking hot take right there. They're gonna swing the back and get us a big name. Listen, I love the position on Valus. I think honestly, Valus's issue is between his ears. I don't believe it's a talent issue. I believe it's a confidence issue. Based off his locker room presser, there may be a work ethic issue in there, because he was like, hey, I figured out I need to work. I need to bring it every day in practice and all this other stuff. But I think on top of that, he's coupling that with some issues, between the ears, of like maybe overthinking, and just instead of going out there and playing the game you love, the game you played your whole life. I thought the most impressive part about the run on Sunday, to me, was the finish. Even though it happened on the sideline, I think that was the first time during the season where he actually ran a kickback where it didn't seem like he was overly concerned about the hit that was happening at the end of the run. It was like, okay, I'm just running freely. Whatever happens. This is football. I'm a fall. It's supposed to hurt, right? You know what I'm saying? He didn't finish timid. He was running aggressive. And I was praying he got another opportunity to get us some field position there. But really, they're focused on cutting your teeth right there in the special teams position, because special teams needs to be special, and you have the tools to make it happen. Now, going back to the play calling, me personally, I'm not calling fake jet sweep nothing a million times and not actually running it. That I got to go back to that. We call fake jet sweep a million times and never actually handed it. Again, I'm the logic of it. I'll run Justin on a quarterback sweep, but I won't actually give it to the fast 210 something pound wide receiver / running back guy to run it to the outside. 2 of those or 3 of those could have been actually handoffs to Justin Javelus to save the wear and tear on your quarterback, man. So just taking us back and thinking back to that, man. But listen, Braggs, I appreciate you coming on, man. I try to keep this to about an hour, man. I appreciate and I love what you guys do on CHGO, man. When I get an opportunity, I do tune in from time to time. I love the format. I love the set and all that stuff, man. You see, I try and do my little thing over here and catch my own little vibe. We're building it out. But man, you know what I'm saying? Give my boy Adam a shout out. I probably fired a couple tweets across his bow before, probably early on in the season, man. But tell him it's nothing but love from Coach T over here at Chicago Bears 360, man. And I look forward to, man, have you come around again, man. And by the way, man, I come to the city, man. We have a cigar or something. I can't do beer no more, but you got to show me when to get one of them fancy cigars you be smoking.
Yeah, I'll bring you one. Next time you come to town, I'd love to meet you. Appreciate you having me on tonight. It's a lot of fun, digging into this Bears team.
Plug your socials before you get out here, man.
Yeah, hey, you know where to find me. I'm talking the nonsense on the Twitter timeline at GBraggsJr23. I also do my own personal show called Braggs in the Stands. You can find it on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And then obviously, like Coach T was just saying, over there at CHGO with at CHGO_Bears is our Twitter handle. But I'm sharing all the stuff on my personal timeline as well, so you can find it all there as well. But we do, pre and post game shows immediately before and after the game. We got shows, 5-6 days a week seems like, and we got tailgates and all sorts of shit going on at CHGO. It's a lot of fun to be a part of. It's like I said, it's just kind of been just riding the wave, just a bricklayer and a fan in the stands.
Man, that's a cool
phone camera in his hand and somehow turned it into something. So
listen,
finally
man,
tricked somebody into giving me a job. So
there you go,
that's
man.
How you do it. You call mind manipulation, Coach T. That's how you do it.
Well, much luck to you, man, and continued success, man. I definitely appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, you too. And if you ever need anything, just let me know. I'm always here, and I appreciate you having me on, and I always appreciate just the conversation and how you take it, because I saw you were going at it with Swift, and I like Swift. I don't have a problem with him. I think he's a good dude too, and I like pretty much everybody on Bears Twitter. We do so much infighting on Bears Twitter, and we eat our own every single day. And I just look forward to the day the Bears can win a Super Bowl and we can all,
yeah, we all gonna laugh about it and cry about it and all this other crap, man. We probably
because we all want the same thing at the end of the day, and that's the Bears to win a Super Bowl. And so I'm always gonna build bridges. I'm not gonna burn them. So I appreciate you having me on tonight, and we'll just keep building this thing up with the Chicago Bears brick by brick, baby.
There you go, man. So I'm Coach T. That's Gregg Bragg Jr., man. I appreciate y'all joining us tonight. Chicago Bears 360 and all my field soldiers out there. I'll see y'all on Thursday's Thanksgiving. I'll see y'all on Saturday. 11 or 12-ish Eastern Standard Time. 12 Eastern Standard Time. I'll see y'all 11 Central. I'm Coach T. That's Gregg Bragg Jr. Thank you for joining the show, and continue to bear down, man.
Bear down.
Always got to get these graphics right. This thing never works. All right.